DJ Event Planner, Electra Voice, DJ Trivia and DJ Bingo, ProX Direct, NLFX Pro, Promo Only, Odyssey Cases, Perfect Portals, JMOZ Lighting, Instant DJ Requests, and our DJNTV Insiders. This is John Young from DJNTV. Thanks for watching.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Tuesday Night Music Show. I've been on hiatus, had stuff going on, but I'm back. Just in time for everybody to start enjoying their summer and not tune into anything on social media. Smart,
right,
huh?
right. Yeah.
Howie, I noticed something about you that I haven't noticed.
What?
One, your camera looks great. I don't know if you got a new camera, new lighting, or what you have.
No, it's just the standard C920.
It's what I have, but you look better than I do. But what I noticed about you is that your hair's getting long again.
Oh, yeah.
Just show him, because you always got the hat on. Just kind of turn your head and look at that. He's getting the hair back.
Well, I mean, I'm actually surprised, with the treatments I went through with the cancer, that I got it back. I'm going to cut it, though. It's just...
No, don't. When I met Howie, and I tell people this, they don't believe me. The guy had a ponytail down to his butt.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, he didn't. I'm like, oh, yeah, I did.
I did, but...
Because you always just see you forward.
But when I would comb my hair during the treatments, I mean, oh, my God. You ever try to clean out a brush that's like this much ball of hair? It's like, I was like, you know what? I'm going to the barber, go cut it. I accept it. As long as I live, I don't care if I have the ponytail I had. I had that ponytail for 40 years.
I'd say you keep rocking it.
Wow.
Yeah. You think so?
Keep rocking it. I do. But I do you, but I like it. I like it.
Yeah. I mean,
it's good.
You know what?
Curly.
That's exactly what Lori said. She said, "You're not going to cut that, are you?" And I was like, "All right."
Always do what makes her happy. That's the key to life. That's the key to happiness.
Boy, don't I ever. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I had a busy weekend like you did, working on the truck. Got that up running. Yeah. New starter, new belt, changed the oil, all that stuff like that. Usual, like, okay, everything's done for, until next summer. I mean,
that's good.
No, I mean, I only put like 2,000 miles on the truck, but, and the oil's like, oh, we're for 10th. I'm like, I don't care.
Well, with all this maintenance you're doing, we might not break down on the New Jersey Expressway this time.
We probably won't. Everything possible that bolts onto the engine is new.
Speaking of cars, Jay just came back from the Motor City.
Yep.
Detroit.
Motor City, Detroit. Yes,
Detroit.
he did.
Yes. We're doing car theme tonight, and we'll get to that in a minute. But
a lot of cars in Detroit.
Right.
Well, they make them around Detroit anyway.
Yeah. But I was surprised how many old cars.
Yeah, it's that time of year.
Like hot rods. Like a lot of guys driving like a ton of old, I don't know why, but just a bunch of old Malibus, Chevelles.
Well,
nice.
Why were you there in Detroit?
I was there for a show called Movement that happens every Memorial Day. It's been going on for probably 20 some odd years.
Yeah.
Detroit, a lot of people think of Detroit, you think Motown, think R&B, but Detroit is technically the founding spot for techno music.
Kevin Sanderson.
Yeah, it's credited Derek Mays and Derek Carter, and it's credited as this is the home of techno.
Right.
Well, I mean, this is a massive, massive festival. It takes place, if you've ever been to Detroit, at Hart Plaza, which is right on the water.
Just south of downtown, right?
Yeah. exactly. Right on the water. Beautiful spot. And it's big. I mean, it's Richie Houghton played the first night as the headliner to close it out. Like, everyone in the techno field was there.
Yeah.
2 Chainz was there because they usually bring in like at least one solid hip hop
Sure.
act. The last time I did this a few years ago, the closing night, the main stage, which is the biggest stage, was Wu-Tang Clan.
Wow.
The side stage was Diplo. Another side stage was Rez, and the other side stage was Dubfire. But it starts at 2 and goes till midnight. And we had a tent with Sweetwater. So it was us and Korg and In Music and ADJ and Erica Synth and a Moog style company and just different companies within this tent. So as people would come into the venue, anyone and everyone could come in the tent. So you've got, I mean, I don't know, like 50,000, 60,000 people a day there.
Oh my
and
God.
we were next to one stage, which the last day was yesterday. It runs Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So the last day, Monday, had the best lineup on the stage next to us. And I mean, it's a good 20,000 people going down towards the stage.
But didn't they used to call this Techno Fest years ago?
I don't know. I've only known it as movement.
That's what Joe Fugini told me.
That could, I mean, he's local.
Yeah.
He would know more than
Right, yeah, he's in Farmington Hills.
Yeah.
By the way, there are no farms or hills in Farmington Hills.
There you go. Yeah, it's one of those.
Killed them all.
Where, you know,
were you in a situation like Brian was, where you were in the Sweetwater tent? People would walk by to see the main stuff, and you would play there. Is that, or were you a demonstrator?
No, I was really more of a demonstrator. And the tent was set up right at the entrance. Last time I was there, it was set up probably 100 feet in and over on the walking into the festival over on the left. This year we were directly at the entrance on the right, which probably helped or hurt us. It hurt us in that people coming in were shooting in to go towards all the stages. It helped us in that people that were milling around would see it and come in.
Yeah.
So it was busy all 4 days or all 3 days. I got there Friday night, did set up. And then Saturday, I worked alone. So I got there at 10, worked till 8. Then Sunday, Monday, another DJ flew in from a gig in Atlanta and worked with me. So I had somebody with me Sunday and Monday.
Right on.
Your schedule gets thrown way off because you arrive on a Friday. You're okay figuring out today's Saturday, but it's the Sunday, Monday that gets confusing because Monday's Memorial Day. You think it's Sunday again. So it's one of those like, what day is it? You know, but it was fun. I mean, you know, there was a lot of great DJs who I'd never even heard of.
Nice.
So I did a lot of Shazamming and have some really, you know, people that if I see them in my area, I'll definitely go support them.
Cool, fun crowd.
Yeah. Awesome crowd.
Yeah.
No attitude, no problems,
Right.
no beefs.
Just
These
fun.
festivals are like that. EDC is the same thing.
Yeah.
Even the police like working EDC. I think I saw one incident where a girl, I think she just fainted from the heat because it was really hot
Sure,
yesterday.
yeah, of course.
And they had probably like 4 medics and like 6 cops right on her.
Right.
So, you know, I felt really safe. It was a great show. The crowd was really fun. It's a very mixed crowd compared to
Right.
most festivals.
Right.
And Detroit definitely supports, you know, they hustle harder, as the T-shirts say.
I love Detroit. I love seeing
It's a great
all
city.
of the things that are happening downtown and the new sporting venues and concert venues, and it's just it's really nice to see.
We were I stayed at the Westin. Last time I stayed at the Marriott Renaissance, which is on the river. So you're parallel to the Hart Plaza. So you come out of your hotel and you just walk like a block down and you're at Hart Plaza. With the Westin, you're about 1.5 miles away. So the beauty was I got to go by like the Guardian building, which is this beautifully architect building. Looks like it's from the turn of the century.
Yeah.
Just really ornate.
All the architecture in Detroit.
Yeah, it's amazing. But then the Beavis building, and they're famous for their Coney dogs. And I remember watching Anthony Bourdain when he was in Detroit, and he ate a Coney dog at Lafayette's. Well, Lafayette's is right next to All-American Coney dog. So that the two biggest places are literally next to each other. And all I could think of was like Philadelphia.
Yeah,
With the cheesesteak.
Yeah.
What's the deal with the stuff being right on top of each other? Like,
Right.
I don't get this. But yeah,
Hey,
so it was awesome.
No, it's a great city. I love Detroit.
It really is.
I haven't been in a few years. I need to get back. It's a great city. You know,
Yep.
I said we had a car theme, and it will finally 10 minutes in, we'll get to our point of what I was talking about. I DJ'd a car show on Sunday, and it was Sunday morning I started at 8, so I had to be there at like 6, which means I had to be up at like 5:30. That was some conditioning, because anybody who knows me knows that I am not a morning person. So I was conditioning myself like
none of us are.
No, well, that's why we do this. So I've been conditioning myself for weeks to be up and alive for this.
Yeah.
But it was crazy even before that. I mean, I had all kinds of personal things going on and won't even get into it. But I did a video and I haven't posted it yet. It's ready to go. I'll make it go live after this broadcast. But I posted a playlist from my event. And I guarantee you that most people will look at or hear my playlist as I give it song by song and think to themselves, this was a car show, really? Because I don't do what most people do at car shows for music.
Except for us. I do not, the people in the 50s that you would think you would play for, they're dead.
Yeah, pretty much dead. Or, I don't know. Like my mom, okay, she's 81. And by all rights, you would think that she would be listening to, more of the doo-wop 50s stuff, but she totally would rather hear something from the 70s or something from today. I mean, not everybody's, thinking like that. I feel like, I don't know if you've ever done car shows, Jay. Have you ever done anything like that?
I've done them.
Yeah, I have.
Well,
last car show I did, it was the biggest hit was the 80s, because those people from the 80s are in their 60s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that are buying those cars.
I think
it's easy to default to play Beach Boys and 409 and.
Well, I did play that. I did. It was requested though.
Yeah, but see, I think it's very easy if you say to the average DJ, "I'm doing a car show," they're going to go to like, "Oh, I'll play Gary Newman cars. I'll play Queen. I'm in love with my car." Like they'll just go down the car song or even
car themed songs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's like any gig, you have to read the crowd in front of you and kind of
exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, I'll talk more about the music that I played, but
you got a lot of compliments though.
I did, but there's something that I really haven't, I guess, said publicly. I thought I'd do it here on DJNTV.
Okay,
breaking
that is, they paid the same amount of money for me to DJ this car show as somebody would a basic 6-hour wedding. I didn't discount it. And a lot of people who are in the know that anybody who inquires about a car show, they're looking at a budget of $350, $400. I mean, that's just what it is.
500 max. Yeah.
Okay. So
yeah,
I will say this. And this is me being brutally honest about it. I was lucky to get in at my asking price, at my normal rate. I lucked out because the organizers for this car show, not the people who were writing the checks, but the organizers for the car show, was actually my late friend Mike Guy's son. Mike Guy, the one who laid all these records on me in the 1200s, who passed away of cancer.
Passed away. Yeah.
Well, 4 years ago we did. This is his son who organized the show.
I know who I'm thinking of.
Yeah, with the big truck, lifted truck.
Yes, he's involved in the Wisconsin Truck Takeover enthusiasts. These are a great group of guys who they just have trucks. They're not like necessarily custom trucks. Some of them are lifted or whatever. But during the pandemic, what they did was they hosted free birthday parades for any kid who had a birthday and they couldn't go have a party for him or anything, couldn't have anybody over. So they give him a truck parade down the street. And it was just a really nice gesture. They raised money for this
That is.
Next event, they're doing, they're raising money for like the canine unit. They're very civically minded people. They're good people. It's a good organization. And they've taken over for this car show. And they had their trucks there too. Well, of course, Andrew's like, well, I got a DJ. He's this guy. And you're just going to give him what he needs. And they reluctantly agreed to pay my asking price. Because most of the time they were, paying $350, $400 for a DJ.
I think that's the price everywhere. Because I've gotten a call for one, and that's what they offered me. I'm like, no.
Yeah. They don't typically do much.
Yeah.
So the reason I'm even bringing up the money part, and I'm not giving you dollar amounts because doesn't matter. It's just not $350, $400. It's significantly more than that.
Right.
If you are lucky enough, like myself, to get into an event like this, especially an annual event, at your asking price, I feel like it's in your best interest to set yourself apart from anyone else they've ever had at that $350, $400 price point. So what I mean by that is I don't feel like we should go in there and start playing the American Graffiti soundtrack as loud as we can through two-way top caps, because that's what everybody else does for $350, $400. Would you agree?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. I mean, how are they supposed to talk about their cars if they have to shout?
Right. And that's my argument. I mean, not only am I DJing car shows, but I attend them. So I'm a builder. There are guys out there who just, take their retirement money that they get and they throw $150,000 at a 68 Charger that's already done.
Yeah.
They're at the show. They're not talking much because they don't know much about the car because that's how much it costs.
Right.
I like to talk to the builders. I want to learn something new.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We can't have a conversation if we're screaming over, Get a Job or 16 Candles or Charlie Brown. We can't have a conversation. So the music levels have to be somewhere where people can have that conversation and still hear the music. Now for this, there are two things that I've done. And one thing is I'm using column arrays because I feel like the properties, like, Jay, you have the Evolve 50s, Howie, you've had experience with these as well.
Oh, many times. Yeah.
They're not nearly as mid heavy. So you can get, people can hear it. They can tap their foot and jam to it, but they can still have a conversation without screaming at each other.
And if you had to make an announcement, they can hear you.
Right. Somebody in the comment section of my first video I posted, I believe it was the Gigalog I posted, had said, what are you using these things for? I got to use these point source, and they meant two-way top cabinets because they project further. You're not the main attraction here.
Up on a big pole and everything. Yeah.
I mean, if you're DJing a massive car show, of course, but if you're just trying to play to a lot or two, you're not the main attraction here. That would be the cars and the people. Let them shine a little bit.
Well, you know what? That makes perfect sense. It's almost like doing a wedding and trying to be the star of the wedding. No, it's the couple. It's the couple, right? It's
Same principle.
Cars. It's the cars that are star, right?
Or and the people they're talking about their cars.
Right.
Making new friends. I mean, it's a community.
Yeah.
It's weddings different. A lot of people know each other at weddings, or they're there to specifically meet the other family. A car show, everyone's a stranger unless they just see each other at car shows. So you're meeting people. Oh, I like your car. I like your car. You're having conversations about things. It's cool in that regard. It's very much a social event. So you need to let it be a social event. Let it breathe a little bit instead of trying to like be the main attraction. That's one thing that I did. The other thing I did with the audio, which was by default, which had everything to do with my programming, was I wasn't playing mid-heavy music like the 50s stuff. The recordings aren't great on that. More 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
Kind of stuff,
Yeah.
Which is another conversation, but it did help. I wasn't playing the Big Bopper all night long.
Well, a lot of those were in mono too back then. So
What's bass?
They only had 4 channels to work with, and
They recorded it over the telephone.
yeah, kind of.
What it sounded like.
Yeah.
Or an Electro Voice Model 75 that's 95 years old now.
Yeah. It's funny because a lot of people and these people are not wrong. I'm not saying they're wrong. All I'm saying is that if you want to command more, if you're lucky enough to get it, if you want to keep it, you should probably do something different than everyone else does.
Right.
So someone had said, I like to play songs from when the car was new.
Yeah, that's weird.
Well, it would, I don't know. I'm thinking to myself, so if a Model A shows up, are you playing, hello, my baby, hello, my honey, hello, my ragtime gal? You're not doing that.
Let me get you the 95.
You got the right microphone for it. Putting on the Reds. You're not doing it.
Put on the Reds.
Yeah. It's Happy Days at American Graffiti all day. So I guess my only point is that, if you're going to come into here, one thing to just keep in mind, if you want to come back and you want to come back and make some money at this, or you're not losing, do something different. If you're doing the same thing the cheap DJ did, what's the incentive of bringing you back at your premium price?
Right.
And
be different.
I mean, I've been to car shows where they're putting the thumb drive in and they're playing that soundtrack, like you said.
Well, sure.
They're really not doing much.
Well, they're not getting paid much to do much. So I get that.
Yeah.
I was actually playing to an audience. And the coolest thing that happened towards the end, and it was several groups of people that I talked to. The question they had was, where are you playing next?
That's a very good sign.
Assuming that I'm a car show DJ, and I have to break it to them that I'm playing at the casino next. You can come, but there's no car show. But they dug it. I mean, it was a completely different vibe, but it was a lot of people singing.
A compliment, though.
But that's why I'm probably going to come back next year, because I set a bar that the cheap guy can't hit.
Right.
If you're going to demand cash for anything that you do, you must create value to become valuable.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't do that and you expect money, that's tough, man. That's tough. If you're doing the same thing somebody else can do at a fraction of the price, what's the incentive of ever hiring you again?
Yeah.
I think there's something to be said for that being the case with every event.
Yeah.
I think you always have to stand out.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I think the car show is such a narrow field. And I've done a couple of them, and they were just what you said. It was, we got $300. It's 3 hours on a Thursday. It's 6 to 9, play some car music.
Yeah.
And you're not doing anything on a Thursday. So you show up and you give them their $300 worth. Yeah. And as much as you want to give them $1,000 worth and have them go, whoa, you realize the problem is you've already set the bar. So if you kill it, they're just going to want you to come back for 300. There's no way to kill it and go, next time it's 500.
Do you think it's possible? And I'm only asking, do you feel like it would be possible to go into an event at an entry-level price, kill it, and refuse to come back unless you got what you commanded?
I would do that.
You can do it.
Would that be possible? Do you feel?
I've done it.
I think it would be possible, but I question if anything would happen.
If
they would just go like, well, maybe the next guy will kill it for 300 too.
Well, maybe, but maybe not. See, what was interesting about this, and the people who were talking to me, and I was listening to them. I wasn't trying to boost my ego on this or anything like that. I'm listening to them, and they're asking me, where will you be next?
Right.
We like this.
Yeah, totally get that.
We really like this.
That's cool.
Yeah. So that's value. And if I'm not there, hey, where was that guy? You need to get him back here if you want to see us back here.
The guy that was good.
Yeah. What's going on with that?
Well, I think there's all of us as professionals are going to say, this is the value we bring to the event. Others would look at it as, we just needed some background music. Why get all excited? Why get, should we be spending this? The event I did 2 weeks ago, or a week ago, Sunday, it was a 2-hour event. It took 3.5 hours to set up and break down for 2 hours, which is, more than a little weird. 20 lights, this and that. But I went in trying to kill it because I want this client to come back around next year.
Right.
And I think she will.
Yeah. Now, with this one, there's a lot of stuff I'm kind of biting my tongue on because I'll go ahead and say it. Okay. Late in the game, I mentioned that there are some people writing the checks and there's organizers. Organizers and me are a united front. Person writing the check ultimately says what is and what isn't. Person writing the check in the 11th hour tells me that something in my terms and conditions is unacceptable.
Oh, red flag.
You know what I said to him? Well, thank you for your consideration.
Yeah. Yeah.
And 3 hours later, I got a phone call. And all was back on again. Stood my ground on all of it.
I'm in a very similar situation right now where this August community event, we're like, hey, times have been tough. Like, can you drop your price a little bit? And I'm like,
gas has been high. I can't.
Well, I said no, but thank you for 15 wonderful years. I wish you luck. And I have a feeling I might get a call back. I mean,
what you call the takeaway.
I actually didn't. I still, my heart tells me this gig is not for you anymore. Like I've outgrown them. I gave and gave and gave. And well, think about it. And then I listened to the message and they want to drop the price. And I'm like, well,
everything else is going up now. I got to go down. Come on.
No.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll survive.
It's a bit like gambling. You don't want to gamble what you can't afford to lose.
Well, it's a lot of work for 3 hours. It's a half-hour drive and then the setup. And, come on, really? You want me for the car show price you quoted earlier? No, I'm not doing that.
Well, you look at what the outcome is. I mean, I don't know the exact numbers, but I watched DJs get 20,000 people throwing their hands in the air for an hour and a half. And I know that a lot of them made 5 figures.
Right.
They flew in. And they didn't pay for their flights, probably. It was probably part of the whole concession.
Yeah.
Sure.
May or may not have spent a night in a hotel.
Mm-hmm.
They did what they were paid to do. People went crazy. People went nuts. They justified spending $300 or $400 a person to be there.
Right.
And in response to that, they needed $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. Now, some of them may have made $1,000, $2,000. I don't know.
Yeah.
But the good ones at the top, excuse me, the numbers just kept going up. And that's, it's very easy to justify that because if I put Diplo's name on the top of the banner, I'm going to get a big audience to come in. If I put Tiesto and Calvin Harris, I'm going to get a lot of people. And that their negotiation is, you sold out 200,000 people, I want $100,000.
Yeah.
And there's a negotiation that makes sense. In our world, it's oftentimes difficult to come up with a negotiation point because we're unproven, or we're trying to negotiate against a variable that we have zero control over, because I can't put Jay Brannan on a flyer and have everyone show up, because
no one's going to care.
One come again, though.
Yeah.
And it's hard to sell the future. It's hard to say, but by paying me, the next time you do this, it'll be better because I did this the first time. So sometimes you have to blindly go in and just do the gig and kill it.
Maybe you should get yourself a YouTube channel like Brian here, because I heard he's really he's got a YouTube channel. Oh yeah.
It's lit and he's fire. As the kids say.
Well, going back to what you said earlier, Jay, what I'm talking about, going in and just proving yourself and setting yourself apart.
apart. Yeah.
In many ways, professionally, musically, performance wise,
Mm-hmm.
it applies to anything you do, any gig that you do.
100%.
Yeah.
And
100%.
I feel like there's a lesson to be learned here. So that's why I'm bringing it up tonight. Because,
Well, and we've had this battle going back 20, 30 years of, we would all be so much better off if we all together joined hands and walked forward instead of,
Right.
hey man, $200 is $200. I'm going to take the gig. Well, what you're now telling everyone involved,
Mm-hmm.
and this is why I've oftentimes been hesitant to do the friends' daughters' birthday parties at their house,
Right.
because you show up as a $2,000 wedding DJ and you do a 3-hour birthday party and you crush it, and immediately people go to the host, not the DJ, and go, my God, this DJ is amazing. I know, $200. Can you believe it? Well, guess what? Try explaining to them that their daughter's birthday party is $1,000.
Right.
yeah,
And then you have to, and this is why I say this today the same way I said it 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and I'll say it 20 years from now. The worst events you'll ever do are the ones you discount.
I will say this,
They'll
though.
blow up in your face, or they'll ask for so much more. The second you go, yeah, okay, I'll come down $100, you're done. That's the client that's going to haunt you, and it's going to get out. And someone's going to find out, and they're going to be public. I just got him to do this event for this much. And your other clients that are paying you twice that are going to say, why am I paying you twice this when you're doing this event? Like,
Sure. Well, what I was kind of talking about with this is, and you make an interesting point. Yeah. I mean, you had said earlier that, $350, $400 seems like the going rate, no matter where you are. That's what they want to pay a DJ, or maybe even less sometimes. Well, what I was talking about is a little different. And I think in the regard that, you know what? Maybe playing the American Graffiti soundtrack for 2 or 3 hours is worth $350 to $400. But if you're going to go in for 5 hours and you're going to really build some value by connecting with an audience, doing something different, giving people a real opportunity to be social, maybe that's worth something more.
oh, I
That's
agree.
kind of what my point was. I don't look at us as comparing apples to apples to apples. That's just not who we are. We're all different.
Right.
Well, let me rephrase that. We should all be different. Unfortunately, sometimes we're exactly the same, and then we wonder why we don't have value.
Right.
Well,
But you remember, though, was 2 or 3 weeks ago, you said, I'm upping my prices this year.
yeah.
You stuck to it and you got it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And but it wasn't about the money. It really. Yeah, it was. But really it was. It's of course it was about the money. No, but it was really about value. I'm thinking to myself,
Value, yeah.
that's why I wanted up the price. It wasn't because I'm the same as every other DJ in town. It's because I know I'm different.
Right.
Mhm.
And I know I have something to offer that others aren't offering. Not that no one can do it. Not that I'm the best, because I never claimed that. But I'm certainly better than the guy who plays the American Graffiti soundtrack at every car show. I'm better than the DJ who plays the line dances and the Mobile Beat Top 200 at every wedding reception.
Right.
I'm different than the guy who brings in, quite frankly, the cheap speakers, not a well thought out, empathetic sound system where they're making everybody's ears bleed, where no one can talk at their events. They have to either scream at each other or leave to have a conversation. I'm more valuable than that. If those guys can command this amount of money, I can command this amount of money.
Right.
That's where that realization came in.
Yeah.
But we're all going to Disneyland. I just got there a different way, if that makes sense.
I just think that the one thing that I've always said is and I firmly believe this, there's a price cap, because I think there's a price where you no longer can comfortably sell yourself. I think there's a point where even you start to go, damn, am I really worth that much? It's not the esoteric, am I worth it? It's the reality of, if I go across the country and I take 100 DJs from different areas and the average DJ charges $1,000, can I sell myself for $25,000? I might be able to sell $2, $3, $4, $5, maybe even $8,000. But I think the biggest issue I have with DJs today is the DJs who have been around for 3 or 4 years, who have a day job, so they have money to burn to buy gear. They live at home with their parents. You know, there's a lot of the backdoor, behind the scenes stuff that goes on.
Yeah.
And then they charge astronomical money, and they get it because they don't need it or care.
Sure.
And I think if you're going to charge a price, you know what? I got one simple ask for anybody that's looking, listening, or watching. You charge whatever you want. But if I show up and I ask you why you're worth that, you better have a qualified answer. Don't tell me because you got Evolve 50s, and don't tell me because you got 100,000 songs.
Right.
You need to be able to succinctly explain to me why you are worth X for this event.
What value do you bring?
Right. If you know your own worth and you can explain it, you're gold. I did a wedding show years ago. We had just upped our price after seeing Mark Farrell. We were the most expensive DJ company in the room. Every bride went around and came back and said, "You're twice as expensive as every other DJ." And before they could say another word, I said, it sounds like the other DJs know exactly what they're worth, and that's what they're charging. And that literally, you saw their eyes roll in their head like, oh, that totally makes sense. He's charging 1,000. He's worth 1,000. He's charging 500 because he's not.
Tiny passive aggressive, but I like it.
No,
I kind of said something similar to the person writing checks the other day.
Yeah.
He made a comment about something
on the table.
And I said, well, of course not. You've been hiring $300 DJs. Of course you haven't experienced this.
I think the biggest, but the one thing I will put to Brian's point, which is excellent, and I tread lightly is my best advice. Don't show up at a $300 event, ask for $2,000, get it, and make promises you can't keep.
Right.
Because I'll tell you, it is the fastest way to the bottom, because they'll just, you prove them right.
Yeah.
The event will be $300 the next time they need a DJ.
Yeah.
You charge what you want, but do it with the understanding that you have to have a punch list of why.
Well, that's the whole under promise, over deliver philosophy.
Right, but that I think with weddings and corporate events that works. In a car show or a grand opening where they're looking at us as a utility piece, we're just like
we're a
banner. We're a commodity. We're a banner or a sign, or the DJ plays to me. I just almost got hired to open a sporting goods store, and they wanted 8 hours, and I gave them a price quote, and the woman got back to me very nicely. She goes, "I'm really sorry. This is 2 to 3 times more than we plan on spending." And I don't think I gave her an over-the-top price quote.
Sure.
But it's like, I totally understand.
8 hours?
8 hours, yeah. Yeah,
wow.
They wanted it from 8 to 4 outside. And so I'm like, that's great, but this is the price I need to show up and do that kind of work, because I know what it's going to be involved. That means I'm there 2 hours prior and 2 hours after. So I'm actually there for 12 straight hours.
And
I can do nothing else that day, which granted was not far. My equipment is being taxed for up to 12 hours, 10 hours. There's variables, but I then got back to her and I said, I completely understand. I'm probably coming from a different level than you might be needing or accustomed to. This is what I'm bringing. And I named everything up. And she's like, we'll seriously consider you for future events. But as I said, for this particular event, our budget is really strict. Can't be used. I did this last year for 9/11. They contacted me in July and said, we're having a massive event in LA.
I remember that.
6 a.m. 8 p.m.
Yeah.
You need 2 DJs. One is in a green room where they hear pump up music for 2 hours. Then they go in another room for 2 hours. There's 2 half-hour breaks during the day that you can get something to eat. I said, when is load in? Well, you could load in the morning. Okay. Can I load in Friday? Yes. Are there hotel room allowances? No. Okay, so I can drive to LA, load in, and by the time the conversation's over, I said, I'm going to send you a price quote, but I'm saying this without the utmost respect. I'm not going to be in the budget you have. She goes, well, we have a very firm budget. I said, and I promise I will be above it. And I will explain in my quote why. And I gave her the quote, and I said, for me to drive for 3 hours to LA, do a 2-hour load in on Friday night, drive 3 hours home, go to bed, get up 4 hours later to drive back to LA to work. Here's your quote. And it was several $1,000s. And I based it on then I would be working technically for 23 straight hours.
Right.
If I loaded in the night before without going up first.
Right.
I mean, you have to pay for that kind of time. And I said to her, even at $100 an hour for me to drive there, set up, do the job, and leave.
Well,
$100 an hour is $2,300.
Let's assume a different position. Let's just for fun, okay?
Okay.
But something kind of similar happened to me, up to a point. Let's say, Jay, that this client who obviously didn't have the budget for you got your quote, which included hotel accommodations, gas, time, real world figures, and they went with it. You know what? This is 8 times more than we were planning on even thinking of spending. But you come highly recommended. We're going to go with you. If you were to land this job at the money that you commanded without any compromise,
right?
At that point, seeing how they did the event last year, right? They've done this event before. You're the new guy coming in at 8 times or whatever it is, 10 times more than they normally would spend. What do you do to make sure that you're doing this gig next year?
I think do it the way you would normally do it. I don't think you ever do a gig based on fee.
No. That's not what I mean. That's you're misunderstanding me. I was just all I was looking for is to say, be professional, be unique.
Oh yeah.
You're not going to go in and do the same thing that their guy was going to do for $400.
You do you, and that's why you're getting that money. But you have to be individual. You can't go in with the understanding of what did they do last year? I'll copy that. You have to read it the way you read it. Because I said to her, I go, well, I can save you some money. You don't need a second DJ. I can put a sound system in. You give me a new group of 70 people every 2 hours, right? Yes. Yeah. So the new group won't know the last group's music.
Right.
No. Why don't I just put a 2-hour mix together that we can play in that one green room area, and it repeats every 2 hours. So there goes the second need for the DJ. But that's one full system running. Now there's a separate system running. And I've done these. It was a charity thing where they're building meals. I've done these like 10 times. You're on the mic more than you are on the music. And you're pumping people up. Oh, Table 7 just did their 100th meal. Well, you're the pump up guy, and that's really where you make your money. But if you're a shy DJ, you're in the wrong venue on that one. But I think, as you said, you always want to try to do better.
Do something that no one else has done. Something different.
Well, and that would be difficult at times to come up with because you have to feel it out. I think we all get,
of course,
we go. You don't just start on the red line and go nuts. You have to kind of work your way into it. But there's a lot to be said for manipulation of the event. And what I mean by that is you're dealing with a client, you're dealing with the client's client, you're dealing with the people in the venue. There's so many moving parts to a good venue, to a good event that, it's not just that. But let's also remember one thing that would have helped you out, Brian, and probably will down the road. The biggest bank account in the room are the people there. Yeah. The grandmother in the back who is like going to the car show and her granddaughter's getting married and she goes, this would
that
be
guy. Fun. Oh, I got a wedding out of this, by the way. I forgot to mention that. I did get a wedding out of this. Yeah.
Well, geez.
But see, but here's the best part.
Got that answer pretty quick, Jay.
Right. But no. And now this goes back to what Brian's deal with the cost is. Now, let's say Brian did this gig for $300 and he got a wedding out of it. Now, when he goes to the client for the wedding and says $1,250, and they go, but you only charge $350 to do the car show.
Right.
Now, it's funny you say that because there's so many times that we have said, I can't spend exposure. I can't do that. This is the one show.
Bank won't cash it.
That from exposure alone, I probably would have been all right because I did very well in that regard. I made a lot of contacts, and a lot of people know my name now. Right. And I'm going to be doing events because of it. The thing I had in my head, of course, disappeared. I had a cool reply for something you said. and I was waiting for that coda where I could jump in and say something, but I forgot what I was going to say. It was clever. It was good. I promise you it was good.
I gave some moments there where there was room for you to jump.
I didn't want to interrupt you, though. I was trying to be polite. No, but I had something really good that I was going to say, and I can't remember what that thing was. It doesn't matter. Just be good. But don't do what everyone else is doing. If we all do the same thing, the same way, our value probably isn't going to be very high because we're not unique. If we do things that are unique and good that people like, we have value. I don't know. That's just my it wasn't about money so much as it was about just don't sit there and be all upset with yourself because you're doing the exact same thing that everybody else in town is doing and you're not getting ahead.
Yeah, but we've had this talk on a different show, and it came from my buddy Bill in Boston, who said, when I talk to a guy who's been a DJ for 20 years, it's like, wow, 20 years, a lot of experience, a lot of exposure, a lot of time, a lot of work, a lot of change. But then you start talking to some of them and you realize, wait a second, you've simply done the exact same event.
For 20 years in a row.
For 20 years in a row. Yeah. And that's why it's such smooth sailing, because it's like, I got this. Right. I tell people all the time when they're like, I'm trying to up my game. Yeah. And I don't want to name names, so I'm not going to do that. But I'm not part of the whole give me $100 and I'll tell you what to do crowd. And there's a lot of that in the DJ industry these days. There's a lot of I've been in the game for 10 years. I'll tell you what to do.
Yeah.
So on a free side, I would simply do this. And I'm being genuine about this. Pick out 5 things that if you had to describe an amazing DJ at an event, pick 5 things that you would use to describe them, and then aspire to do those 5 things. So even if this is an imaginary DJ, when you say, do good work, do this, over promise,
under promise, over deliver.
Under promise, over deliver.
Right.
It's a mouthful.
But you've got to know what that is. You've got to actually know. You can't say, I brought a blue laser. Well, what? You do a car show at 10 in the morning. What the hell good is a blue laser?
We've done DJ conferences, Jay.
Yes.
Where the organizers have said, it's going to be awesome and it's going to be amazing and it's going to be incredible. And you get there and there's 50 people there. And you expected 50,000 people there. We've done these shows.
Well, you know what, Brian? I said this over the weekend. I'm sorry, Howie, real quick. I said this over the weekend to somebody. When you said that, one show came to mind. Now,
we don't have to say what show it is.
Okay. But if you went up to Pulse and said to Christian, what was the best
one
DJ show you've ever done? He and I are both going to say the same show.
I was actually thinking of a different show, but that's okay.
But the show I'm speaking of still has
the same general principle. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
At Parker's in the parking lot. But the point is, the reason that it was the best show we've ever done, we got there and there's no crowd. And we're like, what's this? Where's all the people? And at the end of it, we realized the lack of people allowed us to spend 15, 20 minutes with every single
It was about the quality time, yeah.
And that's what changed the dynamic. So I agree with you that can come up, but you make of it what you can. I mean, if you got 100 people in a room out of 10,000, rock the crap out of the 100.
You see, I was trying to make an overpromise and underdeliver analogy, and you blew it.
How did I blow it?
So never mind.
I brought it.
You justified it. You justified overpromising and underdelivering. I was trying to make it sound like a bad thing, and you made it sound like a good, positive thing.
Because you have to. You've got to be. Wait, don't you do? You hate. Brian, mute your hearing for a second. You're only as good as your last gig. You've got to do every show like it's the last show.
Jay,
pretend you're a freaking rock star. Get in the room and understand you have a job to do. Separate yourself. I don't drink or eat at my events ever. Why? Because I separate myself. I'm not going to sit there with a pile of food and get slow and
I am.
And starts.
Totally going to do that.
You've got a better metabolism than me.
No, I don't.
Young kid like you.
I'm crippled.
I have noticed though, since over the years, you have stopped taking photos of the food and posting them to Facebook like you used to.
Original premise. You and I were both in a certain northeastern city where they overpromised
Oh,
and underdelivered.
way underdelivered.
And
yeah, they weren't even close.
And they had sponsors involved, didn't they?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
People threw money at this, didn't they?
And they weren't happy.
People threw money
They were
at
not happy.
No.
No, they weren't. Not especially when the ambulance came to take someone that had overdosed in away.
Now, the show that Jay's talking about, on the other hand, the organizers recognized that they may have overpromised and underdelivered, so did what they could do to make it right.
Yeah, they did.
They went over and beyond to make it right, which is all you can do in that case. But it's just best not to do that.
Now,
I wanted to bring something up that I don't know. I wasn't here, so I couldn't do a show on it. But we've talked about this 1,000 times. I've made the analogy between DJs and comedians. And Jay said something very interesting earlier, where he was talking about, do you. This is what you should just do you. Yeah. There is a 2-part George Carlin documentary on HBO that came out last week.
Hold on. Caesar's Palace just sent me a text. I won $73 million because I bet everything in the world you'd mention George Carlin. Thank you, Caesar's Palace.
There were several different comedians talking about him who knew him personally. And they said that George Carlin reinvented himself throughout his career 5 times.
Yes, he did.
He came in as kind of the family-friendly Tonight Show guy.
He did. He wore a tie and a jacket, short hair.
Right.
Yep. He looked like a country star almost.
And then he went and he did the counterculture thing.
He did the hippy dippy weatherman.
Yep. And then he did like the 70s variety show thing.
Yeah.
And then he did this, I don't know, at any rate, the evolution of Carlin, the way that he described it was, Carlin at the end, like when he finally had kind of completed his metamorphosis, was himself. He was the same guy on stage as he was at home. And that was the Holy Grail.
Yeah.
Isn't that
I think the great ones always are, though, aren't they?
Isn't that, I mean, as performers.
Awesome.
Yeah, but awesome. I mean, when you first started talking about the metamorphosis, my mind went right to Willie Nelson. Because Willie Nelson started as this clean-cut guy who grew into himself, and now at the end of it is absolutely himself on and off stage.
Yeah.
Johnny Cash was himself on and off stage. Like the greats, Frank Zappa was himself on and off stage. I think that the real stars in the world, the real ones, it's because you're getting them.
You know, I was thinking about this because I'm thinking to myself, wouldn't it be easy just to start off as yourself? You wouldn't have to do all this.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
But I get it.
You got to go through hoops to get success.
Well,
I play to the room.
Yeah, you had to jump through the hoops to get the gig to be able to. Yeah.
I believe this. I thought about it. When I first started DJing, which was a very long time ago, when I got on the microphone, I did the FM radio DJ thing. All right, this next song is,
Right.
And then I went into this next stage where I was yelling and screaming everything, and I was outrageous on the microphone. Was the next stage. And then I remember going into almost this, I don't know what you'd call it. It was almost an angstful stage where I didn't even like doing what I was doing, but I was forced to do it, and I kept getting asked to do it, and I didn't even care stage. And then now I am totally me at a wedding. I am myself. What's different about me when I started and me now? I'm an adult and I've grown as a person. When I first started, I hadn't grown as that person yet. But when you grow as a talent and a person at the same time, You almost grew up together with your alter ego, I guess. It was the stage presence, and eventually she just fades out. The two people become one, and there you are.
Well,
I don't know.
The ego thing, like they're chasing, and one's trying to stay on a path, and the other one's trying to figure out what to do on it.
Right.
And eventually, you wake up and just go, "I think I was right all along. I just should have done this."
How many do you,
later? So I think I've always been me. I never had. I don't look back on my career and go, "Oh, remember that period where you were?" No, it's just because I'm still like a wise guy in the mic. I was telling this stupid story about kissing under a bridge that didn't exist. That was in 97.
100 years ago. Yeah.
That's 25 years ago. I still do some weddings where it's the right room and the right crowd. I still drop that. And I get the best response. And I get people coming up at the end of the night going, "Man, that story about the DJ from 100 years ago." And I'm like, yeah.
That's good. That is good.
As long as
it's a very Jay thing to do.
If you're happy, if you believe that, and you left this wedding thinking that's a great thing because that happened on the same day, then you know what? I did my job.
Like Howie, okay?
Yeah.
I've known Howie now for a long time. We've spent a lot of time together. And I can say this with, no anything in my throat, or he's a nice guy. And he's going to go out his way to be that nice, cool, accommodating guy for you. And when he's on stage, he's doing the same thing with his clients. He's still that guy. Yeah, of course, we all have a bad day, but Howie has fewer bad days than most people. But he's just a nice guy on and off stage.
I can honestly say I have seen both of you throughout the years, over 10 whatever plus years. I guess I'm the new kid on the block, basically. But you guys are the same on and off. You're always the same. I don't care where I see it, whether it's Vegas or, Chicago, Atlantic City. You're the same on and off stage. You really
There's
are.
no persona. I have people ask all the time, like DJs that aren't good at presentations will say to other DJs who know me, like, "Hey, where did you get that line?"
I know.
He made it up.
It's like, that's just Jay.
No, but is there a script? I didn't see a teleprompter. And it's like, no. That's his strength. That's his thing, is that he can just get up in front of a group of strangers.
Yeah, sure.
But and tell them the truth. And even if there's little lines in here, but I've always had the same the same attitude, whether seminars, gigs, whatever. I don't lie to anybody.
Right.
I don't lie to you. I don't tell you, "Gotta buy this." I'm a terrible salesman that way. Yeah. But I'm a great salesman because I'll tell you exactly why you need it.
Well,
but I won't tell you you have to buy it. I'll just say, this is why you can use this and it will benefit you. And I try to come up the time we had the wireless thing in one of our controllers, I went out of the room with a microphone. I said, "I'll be right back, guys. Sorry." With an iPad. And I said, "Hey, is the mic too loud?" "Okay, so how's that?" And I walked in with the iPad and the mic, and I kept touching the iPad. And it took them about 10 minutes, and finally someone's hand went up and they said, "Are you controlling the microphone volume from the iPad?" I'm like,
"Why, yes, I am."
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this, Jay, because you've been really, we don't talk about it a lot here, but you also play guitar. You've been a musician for a very long time, longer than you've been a DJ. So it's probably fair to say at this point in time, you've been on stage most of your life, in one capacity or the other.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
If you can remember back to when you first started going on stage, think about how you were then, what you were thinking, what you were projecting to your audience, and think about now, fast forward to today, without talking about a span of years, would you agree that you've changed
100%
a lot from your stage presence? Yeah.
100%. Because then it was, who am I trying to be?
Yes.
Yeah.
And now it's just, I don't know how to be anyone else.
We know DJs, without giving names, who are not the same person people think they are. When they're in front of a crowd, or even on social media, when you talk to them in person, they're a different person.
Yeah.
But that's the way they present themselves, and that's what they're comfortable with. And
they're young. They're young.
And they're still new at it. And it's a lot
time
to bite off. You look at the world of YouTube and you think of it as, you know, what's the big deal? I shoot a video in my house and like, no big thing. But when you start racking up views and viewership and subs and you go to shows and everyone knows you and they're dragging and oh, can I get a photo? This, and this. If you're a shy person, that's a lot to kind of contend with.
Yeah.
So I think people, humans in general, we put up that front. And oftentimes that front is the performer. I mean, we've all seen the interviews. I hung out with Al Jorgensen of Ministry. If you know who Ministry is and you know any of their music, Al Jorgensen is a maniac on stage. Off stage,
mellow dude.
and I were talking about recruiting talent for the Chicago Blackhawks.
I would argue that like someone like Al, who's a very theatrical performer, is doing exactly that. He's performing. He's putting on a theatrical performance.
But I think it's still part of him.
And of course it is.
Right. But I think there's also people that put on a persona that isn't anything like them.
Yeah.
That's like you meet them later and you're like, whoa, wait a second. You're not even like, you don't even like music. And I hate music, but you're this big music guy. Well, I don't care. I hate music. I'm making money, so I'm just going to do it.
Well, my point of all this, and really is if you've made it this far, folks, my point of even bringing this up is simply that it takes time. I mean, even the greats, it takes time. You're not going to nail this in 5, 10, 15 years. You're just not going to do it.
Oh, but wait a minute. If you buy my thumb drive,
stop it.
I will say this. If you're uncomfortable because of what you're doing, then it's not what you should be doing. Like if you get on the mic and you feel like, hey, what's up, everybody? How's it going? If you're not comfortable being that guy or that girl, then that's not what you should do. Don't ever let the audience dictate what you should do because Brian's the best at this. You're the host. The audience looks at you like Jimmy Fallon, Jay Leno, Seth Meyers. They only know your role as someone commanding the audience. You need to do just that. Whether it's
the best at that.
Silent, but they view you as that role.
Oh, I'm best at something else, but this is a family show, so we can't get into that.
But you know what I'm saying? You and I have had this talk about how the audience views you as the Jay Leno. Like, they don't know who you are.
He was talking about Cars, I think. But
Cars, too.
Of course.
But that's the thing. So be comfortable in what you're doing.
Waxing cars.
Yeah. If you're not comfortable, you're not doing it the right way because you got to be comfortable.
Family show.
Yeah.
We got to go, guys. We're out of time. Thank you so much for joining us. Jay.
Happy 2023, by the way. I don't know when the show's airing.
Rest in peace, Howie Darkstar. Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. Wow. Things just went left really fast.
Well, yeah.
Goodbye. It was nice knowing you all. Please
it was fun while it lasted. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.